Hey guys, what's up? It's ANKPlays here, and today we're going to be talking about My Hero Academia One's Justice, or localized in America, it's now My Hero One's Justice, and yeah, I'm going to be talking about my roster and story predictions for the game. This is more or less of a wish list than predictions, because a lot of these characters are unlikely to make it in, but I would really like to see these characters in because I think they would have an interesting gameplay style, and it would make the game a lot more fleshed out than it's looking to be right now. But yeah, I definitely am excited for this game. I'm gonna get it launch, and yeah, this is gonna be I can definitely tell it's going to be a good game. It's still up for debate whether it's gonna be a great game or not. I'm still gonna enjoy it though, most likely, because My Hero Academia is a great franchise. And yeah, let's get into who is in the roster currently. So currently in the roster is Izuku Midoriya, Deku, obviously he's the main character. Katsuki Bakugo, obviously he's Deku's rival. There's like a bunch of, like these are obviously characters that are going to be in. There's Todoroki, Uraraka, Ida, Kirishima, Asui, Yairozu, Kaminari, Tokoyami, Jiro, and there's All Might, Mr. Aizawa. Why am I having a brain blank? Shigaraki, that's his name. Stain, Dabi, and Himiko Toga. They're all confirmed for the game at the moment, and I would like to say that Gran Torino is also confirmed for the game. Because if you look at the most recent scan for One's Justice that talks about the story mode, which we'll come back to, in one of the screenshots you can actually see that it says your target is Gran Torino, so I don't see the point of making a CPU of him if he's not going to be a playable character. And I was actually really hoping for Gran Torino to be a playable character because Gran Torino is really cool. So yeah, Gran Torino is pretty much confirmed for One's Justice. So, nice. So next, let's actually get into my list of characters. So total, I'm saying that there should be 30 characters. Let me count how many there are because I wasn't prepared for this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 students, 4 pro heroes, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9... sorry about that little interruption. I believe there are 9 villains, so yeah, 4 pro heroes, 9 villains, and 17 students. So yeah, I believe I accounted for everyone. So yeah, let's just begin. My first pick for another student to be in the roster is Hanto Sero, because I feel like his tape ability would be good. He'd be more of a ranged character. He could use the tape on his arms to grapple and throw the other character, but it would have to actually, hit them. So if he missed, there'd be like a small delay while he's reeling his tape back in. Or he could just cut it off. I'm not entirely sure how it works. I don't pay attention to Sero very much, sorry. But I think he'd be an interesting character. It'd be more of a ranged character, like I said, and yeah, I think he definitely deserves a spot. Next is Masahiro Ojiro. He would be more of a traditional fighter, because of his tail. He's got a whole karate getup. So yeah, he would use his tail to grab people from a close range and throw them. His tail would be his primary method of attack. It'd be really strong. I think he would be honestly more of a defensive character, like Tokoyami. He's more of a defense character, I believe. But I definitely think he has a good chance of being in the game because of, just how well his character is suited for a fighting game. I didn't think Jiro was going to make it in, but here we are. She was confirmed and already has her character slot. But yeah, I think he'll definitely have a chance. Next is Mina Ashido. She has the ability, she'd be more of a speed character. She has her acid quirk, where she can secrete acid and like she can skate on it and she can use it as a weapon. Again, she'd use it as like a projectile, but then she'd also be able to move around really quickly, skating across her acid. And I think she'd be a really unique addition. Like, I don't think we have anyone who uses mainly projectiles. Like, we have Todoroki, who uses fire and ice blast, but like we don't really have someone who uses projectiles, if you know what I mean. Like, you like throw them. But I guess we have another one next, Minoru Mineta, who surprisingly a lot of people want in the game, even though a lot of people hate him. I think he actually does have a pretty good chance in the game, although he already has an add-on, which is that little weird thing where he's like grabbing on your leg. That's weird, I don't know. But I think he does still have a chance to get in the game because he'd be a very good defensive character. He could throw his little balls onto the ground. Wow, okay. He'd throw them onto the ground and it would temporarily either get someone stuck and leave them open to attack, or they would get like slowdown. But I think he'd be a really interesting character because he doesn't really, I don't know what his main method of attack would be per se. I guess he would just have to punch, but they would be really weak. But I think he'd be able to punch a lot because of how often you would get stuck. And that just seems like an interesting character to me. Next is Mei Hatsume. So Mei is in the support core. She's not actually in the hero course, but I think she'd be really interesting to see as a character because honestly the rest of class 1A doesn't have that great of a chance of getting in. Like whatever Sugar Rush is, I know that's this hero named Sugar Rush, but I don't know his actual name. Him and Koda and whoever else is in class 1A, Toru, like they all don't. Like, I guess the two big guys, they have a chance of getting in, but one of their powers isn't very well suited for a fighting game, and the other one is just forgettable. And then Toru, her only power is being invisible, that we know of, but, you know, there's really not a lot you can do with that power in a fighting game. Otherwise, like, I mean, you can't see them, that's interesting, but, like, they have no power other than that. But anyways, Mei Hatsume has a lot of gadgets, and they could probably do a lot with that. They could give her unique gadgets specifically for the game, based on combat overall. She would have a lot of perceptive abilities, and her technique would probably be her main aspect. But yeah, Mei Hatsume is definitely a worthy candidate for this game, and yeah. Alright, next we're going into a little bit of manga spoilers for our next and final student. He hasn't been shown in the game yet, or in the anime yet, but he has been in the manga. He is great. So, Mirio Togata, otherwise known as Lemillion, his quirk, I forget what it's called, but it allows him to phase through the ground and through walls and stuff. I think that would be such a cool power. You know, he's really strong, and he'd be able to zip around the arena really quickly, and that would be such a unique and interesting aspect. I think he'd definitely be more of a speed and power character, but he'd have a low defense and low technique. But yeah, definitely a strong choice. I don't think he'll make it in because he's only been shown in the manga and is definitely not getting shown in the anime this season. So I doubt he'll make it in the game, but I really do want him to. I'd love it if they went further into the story with the manga, which I'll talk about more later. Next, we have Endeavor. So Endeavor is, again, manga spoilers. Yeah, so I'm pretty much, just stop watching pretty much here if you don't want manga spoilers. Endeavor is the #1 hero, because All Might is the former #1 hero. As for those who have read the manga or are going to see the episode next week, most likely you'll see it. But yeah, Endeavor is the #1 hero, and he his quirk is, you know, he has his flames. He's the father of Todoroki, and I think he'd be a really strong character I don't know if he'll make it in because we already have 2 fire characters, being Todoroki and Dabi. Dabi was confirmed, so Dabi has his blue flames, and Todoroki has fire, regular fire, and ice as well. So I don't know if Endeavor will make it in, but Endeavor is definitely more. Endeavor is definitely more stronger with his fire, so I think he'd be pretty interesting. He'd be definitely a powerhouse in defense, but he'd be really slow. So I guess that would kind of be different, but I don't think he's going to make it in, even though I'd like to see him in the game, because he's definitely a big aspect of the My Hero story. So next is Gran Torino. We already talked about this. He's practically confirmed, but he'd definitely be a much speedier character in the game, and that would be really interesting to see, because also Gran Torino is a great character. He is awesome. But yeah, in the little screenshot you can see that it says target, and unless there's like actual target like pictures of him, it doesn't make sense to put that there without him being an actual playable character. So yeah, he's most likely going to be playable in the game. So next we have our villains. We already talked about Shigaraki, Stain, Dabi, and Toga, and the next are all villains. So the final 5 that I'm going to be talking about are all villains. I think 3 have been shown in the anime, 2 haven't. So the next one we're going to talk about is Muscular. Muscular is definitely would be a powerhouse. He'd have power and speed and defense, but he would have a really low technique because he's very, he's very rash, and he's not really smart about how he attacks. He underestimated Deku in the forest training camp arc, and he lost to him, and he was arrested. So I think that could be a boss battle, and it would be definitely a really awesome battle to do. But so yeah, I think he would definitely be a really fun character to play as. He'd be really strong, and you get the gist. He's just a character, I think, because we need villains in this game. They wouldn't have a heroes and villains tab on the website if there weren't going to be, at least a good amount of villains. Like, it's not going to be 41 heroes and 3 villains. No, they wouldn't do that. It doesn't make sense to do that. So yeah, I believe he actually has a pretty good chance of being in the game based on where the story seems to take place. But we'll talk about that in a bit. Next is someone who is definitely a big manga spoiler. So this next one is Overhaul. Now I think he would be a really interesting character to see in this game, because Overhaul's quirk allows him to disassemble and reassemble things. That's his quirk, called Overhaul. That's also his villain name. But his quirk allows him to disassemble and reassemble things, like I said. So I think a main aspect of his character is he'd be weak at the beginning of the game because there's not much to disassemble and reassemble, but as the game goes on, he gets more destroyed objects from around the arena, and he puts them together to use as weapons, and he has all of his I think Overhaul, I don't want to spoil it too much, but Overhaul would definitely be a really cool character. He's a huge part of an upcoming arc that we probably won't see till season 4, which will stink, but I would love to see him in this game, because he is a really cool character, and definitely someone who would have a really interesting playstyle in One's Justice. Alright, next is probably my top pick for someone to be in this game, and also the least likely to be in this game, which is really saddening to me because I love this character so much. The next is Gentle and Labrava. It would be a duo character. Gentle is a small villain that shows up in the Cultural Festival arc, the most recent arc of My Hero Academia, the manga that's still going on currently. But Gentle is this character who has the ability to make things elastic. His quirk is elasticity, and he can touch things like concrete and make them make you bounce off of them. He can even do that to the air. So I think he'd be a really fun and interesting character, because he'd be a character who would bounce around, be really quick, and his attacks would not be so strong, but because of the speed, he gains from bouncing around so quickly. Does a lot more damage than you'd think. He wouldn't have a lot of defense, but I think he'd be a really fun, interesting character. And then Labrava, her quirk is more of a love quirk. She wouldn't necessarily be doing a lot of attacking. She would more be like when you press a certain button, she would give him more strength and more defense. It'd be more of like a last resort. I wouldn't think it would be the ultimate attack, even though that would be really cool. I think they would do it for both. But I think she would definitely be supplying him with energy because that's, you know, her quirk. Alright, next is a Nomu. I think the one from the USJ attack is the most likely to make it in because he's the most recognizable, or it's the most recognizable from the anime and the manga. So far we've seen a few other ones. We saw the Chainsaw one from the Forest Training Camp arc, we saw the 3 from the Hosu attack, and we just saw in the most recent manga chapter another one, but we literally know nothing about that, so I doubt it's going to have time to make it into the game. So I think the most likely Nomu to make it into the game is going to be the one from the USJ attack, the one that All Might faced at the USJ attack, obviously, but it would have, it'd be really strong and really fast, and I'm losing my train of thought here. I think Nomu would be a less likely character to make it in because he doesn't speak, he doesn't have a lot of conversation, but he's definitely an important part of the My Hero universe because of, you know, how many Nomus there are. I think this one is the most recognizable, so if one was to make it in, it would most likely be this Nomu. Lastly is All For One. All For One he's on the box art. We have 4 characters in the box art, being Deku, All Might, Shigaraki, and All For One. And All For One is the only character not playable so far. I think he will definitely be confirmed at some point because of where the story seems to start and where it seems to take place in the My Hero universe. So All For One, his quirk is to steal other people's quirks. So I think they could be really creative with this character, just giving him lots of quirks, like a lot of different abilities, and he would probably be on the same strength level of All Might, being one of the strongest characters in the game. But he would definitely be a more overpowered character, and yeah, I think All For One definitely has a good chance of being in the game because they could have a lot of creative freedom with this character, give him a lot of different quirks and such. I think he would just be a really fun and unique character to design. So yeah, that's it for my roster wish list for this game. Next, I just want to talk about how I think the story is going to play out. Now, I've heard people saying, so if you look at the scan that I talked about earlier, it seems the tutorial is with Gran Torino, meaning this is taking place after the USJ attack, after the sports festival, and this is during their internships. Now, I don't think that's where the game is going to take place. Like, all the events are going to be taking place after that. I think it's going to be, you train with Gran Torino to get a hold of your abilities, but then it takes you back to the USJ attack in like a memory sequence. Why else would they have, like, maybe not the USJ attack, but at least the sports festival, because, you know, the sports festival stage is in the game. So why would they include it in the game? And the training area, like where they did the battle training in the first couple episodes of the show, where it was Deku and Uraraka versus Ida and Bakugo, why would they include that in the game if that wasn't playable in the story? So yeah, I think it's going to go back to the beginning of the game in a memory sequence. I think you will start with Gran Torino, but then you'll have a flashback to Deku's beginnings, having the training, and then the USJ attack, sports festival, blah blah blah, all that good stuff. And then you'll go back to where the present is, where you'll be training with Gran Torino, you'll have the Stain encounter, then you'll have the final exams, then you'll have the Forest Camp training arc, you'll have the Hideout Raid arc, and then you'll have the provisional licenses exam arc. I don't know if they'll skip over this one or not. I think they might skip this one specifically because either it's going to end after the forest training camp arc, the hideout raid arc, or it's going to end after the, or it's going to end at the cultural festival, which was what I really want to happen. I really wanted to just go up to date with the manga. I think that'd be awesome if they could go all that way. So it would go past, forest camp training arc, go past the hideout arc, go past the provisional licenses exam arc, and it would go past the overhaul arc. I don't remember what that arc's called, but they would do that one too, and then they would have cultural festival arc, and I guess the final battle would be against Gentle, and then I guess they'd add their own kind of final boss battle. I don't think it would work specifically like that. I think they're gonna try and do what Xenoverse did and make it more of a time travel deal, which wouldn't be that thrilling because all of these events take over the course of like a year, not even, so it's not that much to time travel. I think if they were going to do something, I think it's going to make its own original story. It's the most likely thing to do. Like if they went up to the internship arc and then from there went and did their own story, which I think would be cool, but I'd rather play through the actual story of My Hero Academia and One's Justice. But we'll see how it turns out. I'm definitely very excited for this game. I hope you guys are too. And that's going to be it for this video. Don't forget to rate, comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all. Have a nice day. Peace.